What's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking us on out. Much appreciated. I know it looked like I'm coming from a like a TV talk show studio. Excited. If you guys don't know, Tobin and Leroy, new showtime is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. WQAM is our radio station. If you guys have the Odyssey app, you guys get it on the WQAM station there. Podcast feed should stay the same. We will be streaming live soon from YouTube and Twitch. I'm figuring all that stuff out on the fly. But anyway, big news last night as boy wonder Tyler Herro himself has signed his extension with the Miami Heat. It is a 4-year, $120 million extension with $10 million in incentives. And not surprised by the news. I think that, maybe people heard some stuff over the, camp when he was saying things like, there's a lot of other guys. I know what they got paid, and I feel like I'm better than them. And I think maybe people saw that as things weren't really going. I thought it was a good poker face by Tyler. Getting a chance to speak with him at Media Day. I think I found a guy who was very, very together and with it and ready for what this year was going to mean. All of the big stuff that he's got in front of him between, another child coming along the way where he mentally thought he was out of the playoffs last year. He, I think, really took some, good inventory on what he thought went wrong and things that he had to improve on. Physically, I thought that he looked good and really didn't seem that shook by any of the contract stuff when speaking to the scrum media. And then earlier, and then when camp got to camp, reading some of the quotes, because it was in the Bahamas, I wasn't there, boots on the ground, although I wish I was. Seeing that stuff about, there hasn't been that many talks, haven't really involved, all that type of stuff. I didn't read too much into that. I just think that this is a guy who's not trying to give anybody any fuel or ammunition for anything, because I think anything that has really been thrown out there by him has been, people just take it and they run with it. And so I think you just see a kid just kind of wising up to all that stuff. I think the only kind of insight we got this year was, keep that same energy after the Donovan Mitchell trade. And the Heat did keep that same energy. They did take care of Tyler Herro. I don't find the contract to be, out of this world. I know people are freaking out about it, but first of all, there's very few guys in the NBA who aren't, in the words, overpaid. The money is crazy in the NBA. It's and it's only going to get crazier with the new TV deals and all that type of stuff, which is going to kick up in a couple of years, and we'll see where all that stuff kind of goes and where things lie with that. But the money is getting crazy, and you see a guy like Tyler Herro who's into his 4th year and is guaranteed that much money. It looks like a ton, but you see some of the other names that are around the NBA and the money they're getting, and I think it's right in line with that. I think that seeing what like RJ Barrett got, I think Tyler Herro's done more than RJ Barrett, earned more than RJ Barrett, and so I was fine with that deal getting made and what it was going to be. Now the interesting thing is, what does this mean with the Heat putting that investment into Tyler Herro? Does that mean anything into his starting role? I thought going into this year he was going to be their starter anyway. I didn't think that this was going to be a guy where he was going to come off the bench again. I think they are going to give him that shot. Don't forget, after Tyler's rookie year, they tried to start him. It did not go well, and I know people will always go to his splits of starting and say it doesn't go as well for starting. But, that was a year coming right after the bubble. Wasn't much time, wasn't much break or any of that type of stuff. So I do feel like, from my standpoint, the worst thing that can happen is you go into this, right? And if you do start him early on, this regular season is so long, you'll have time to tinker. I don't see what the big problem is with going into the start of this season and feeling like you have all the answers. It's the same thing with people who are freaked out about power forward right now or the big who plays next to Bam. I think the Heat are going to have a lot of time to figure this stuff out. Don't forget, during their first finals run a couple of years ago, the starters were Kendrick Nunn and Myers Leonard. Those were the starters for most of the season. And by the end of it, it was Jay Crowder and Goran Dragic. They completely, did a flip come the postseason. This past year, you had most of the year, Duncan Robinson was your starter in the starting lineup. And towards the end of the regular season, they flipped it to Max Strus. So this stuff can always take a tinker, whether it be by a trade or by a fit or how they think guys are going to play. But I do think that there is a limit of, let's see where Tyler fits into this, because, clearly he's been thrown into a lot of trade rumors. Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, all these big-time whales that the Heat have tried to get. And a lot of teams have basically told you, like, we don't think that is the key asset. Well, you can't love your asset. Other teams can't love your assets more than you do. You need to show some love to that. You don't want to be in a position where, the Suns were with DeAndre Ayton, where they don't give the respect to their player, their number one overall pick, and he's disgruntled, and they're like, well, they don't believe in him. Why should we believe in him? And then all of a sudden he's signing a deal, and you're having to match it, and then, you're in this this situation where it's like, maybe we should have had a little bit of foresight of where things are going to go into it. Because I will say, look, Tyler Herro is going to put up numbers this year. I don't know if people think that he's going to come back and be this player that's going to average 12 points like he did in the playoffs. Like, Tyler Herro is going to go out there, possibly could be the leading scorer for the Heat like this year. That's the type of dynamic talent that he is. And if he's not going to be the leading scorer, he's certainly going to be right there with Jimmy, or, maybe Bam takes his lead. But he is one of their, top offensive threats, bar none. And I think that's only going to make, the price go up by next year. So, yeah, why not lock up your guys, show that you have a little show that you have a big belief in him, and then see what he does this year. And, I think that this is about the time where you want to see him go into this year. Definitely take a leap. But I do think for Tyler, like, he is definitely going into a situation where he is going to be based on a couple things. If he does start, that's definitely going to be judged. But most of it is going to be once he gets to the postseason, because that's all he really has to shine with now. Like the year they got swept, everybody stunk in the playoffs. I put that one away. Fine. He had some really, really great moments, obviously, in the bubble. People think that was the product of what his success was. And this past year was a disaster by all accounts. Not only did, he not perform well, but then he got injured. And they really needed him. They really, really needed somebody else to provide that offensive punch. I think Vic provided some of that stuff defensively and showed some ability to get to the free throw line, but a go-to scorer in clutch moments, that is supposed to be where he shines. And to hear that, he had some issues with his confidence or, mental things that he was going through that he just couldn't shake in the postseason. I think that this is going to be where he's judged this year, for sure. That is what Heat fans are going to expect. They're going to expect a lot of him. The interesting thing, too, is going to be with this, if he does, the one thing that I do think that this guarantee money does alleviate, if they do get into a situation, and he has said he is open to it, if they do go into a situation where they do think the rotation just fits a little bit better with him coming off of the bench, they just like it a little bit crisper with Strus starting next to Jimmy Butler and that whole crew. With him now having the guaranteed money, I think it becomes less of an obstacle if Spo wants to go down that track. Because basically the conversation could be, look, we gave you your bag. We gave you your bag. Your contract is now what it is for the next 5 years. Let's not make a stink about you being a sixth man. So I do think that also alleviates something here, if they do go in that direction. I still think that they should start him, but if for some reason Erik Spoelstra does want to go in the direction of having Tyler Herro come off the bench and be in that role, which he definitely showed more of an openness. We know what he wants, and that's what he said that he wants, but if they do go in that direction, certainly having this money locked down now, $120 million guaranteed, certainly puts you in the position of, okay, it's not going to be – there's making a stink when you don't have your guarantee money, and then there's, making a little stink because you just want to be in a position you're not. But come on, you got the money guarantee that you want. So I do think that is definitely an element to this that helps, is that the Miami Heat maybe feel like themselves. Now, people may say, well, really, you're going to go and give $120 million just so a guy's less of a pain in the ass? I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying I think it's a byproduct of it. It does help if they want to go in that direction. Again, I still think you should start. Let's see this thing out. Let's see what it looks like. I think that you go into this year, Max Strus, for me, he's like one of the least what's the word I'm looking for? He's like one of the least guys you have to cater to for a couple of reasons. One, he's on a cheap deal. Two, he fits in anywhere. Max Strus is a great starter. Max Strus is a great guy off the bench to be an igniter. He can fit next to anybody. I just think that he's almost the perfect sidekick, especially next to Vic, in that role, if he is going to come off the bench. Now, we know Jimmy loves playing next to him. We know that that's a good chemistry mix there. So, I get I would understand if Eric Spoelstra, you're always going to go with what Jimmy wants because it's still his team. He's still the man. But I do think that Jimmy also probably knows that, look, Max Strus did not shoot it well in the playoffs last year, and he does still need a more dynamic scorer next to him. And all this talk about, Donovan Mitchell getting Spida, all that type of stuff, Tyler can be that guy for him if he plays up to his capabilities. He wasn't even close to that in the postseason last year. And, yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him because if he does stink up the joint in the postseason this year and if he's not the guy that he thought that he was, then, people will be looking at this contract and shaking their fist at the sky. But, dude, he is going to be 23 in January. There is still a lot of growth for this player. There is still a lot of levels to go for this player. This is not a guy who has still hit his ceiling. I don't believe that. I still think that there's a lot of growing to go for Tyler. And, 23 is not even close to the prime of a player yet. Usually, 25 is when you start hitting your prime as a basketball player. And he's not there yet. So, let's, I think this is a good move by the Heat. I think that, you take care of your own. He was a very important piece for them last year in the regular season. We know that he is capable of doing more in the postseason. Very, very clear. But, look, if you would have had a monster postseason this year and you didn't lock him up, it could have been you would have been even maybe in a bigger bind. Now you take care of him. If he has a great playoffs, you have him locked in, and that is and the salary is what it is. So, I like the move for the Heat. Happy for Boy Wonder. That's life changing money. So good for him. And I'm excited for basketball season to get here.